we're going to get started talking about one Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, and what I observed, not what I observed, but what I read from what, happened today at OTAs. Again, don't forget, man, like, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel, hit that like button, tell a friend, share all this. So from all accounts, from everybody that was out there, they said Shedeur Sanders looked pretty good out there, that he looked better than Dillon Gabriel. It's a keynote to note that Kenny Pickett took the very first rep of the 11 on 11s, followed by Joe Flacco, followed by Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders was the only quarterback of the four not to get any first team reps. I got some tweets and I got some video from about 4 different people who were in attendance today. One from The Athletic, one from Cleveland.com, one from ESPN, and one from 92.3 The Fan, just to kind of give you a visual of what they had to say about what took place in the open session of OTAs today. I thought Mary Kay Cabot's video was quite interesting. So what I want to do before Spencer comes on is kind of paint the picture of what was said about the Browns insiders that was present today. We ain't painting no narratives. We ain't painting no pictures. We're just calling it straight down the line. This is not what I had to say. This is what the people who was there had to say. So we're going to start off with a tweet from one Zach Jackson of The Athletic. Let me go ahead and get this other screen up off the way real quick. So this is what he had to say. Tommy Rees said, "You can see all of them winning the job. We are still really early in the competition, trying to get them all ready to go." Offensive coordinator said he really liked what he saw from all his guys out there today. Daryl Ryder of 92.3 The Fan said, it's unfair because it's OTA's QB evaluation, but Shedeur Sanders has had a better day than Dillon Gabriel. Daniel Oyefusi from ESPN, he is the Cleveland Browns insider of ESPN, frequent guy on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He had this to say: Browns OTA practice just ended. It was a strong day for Shedeur Sanders, who notably was the only quarterback not to take reps with the first team offense today. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has downplayed the practice order and first team reps, but we'll see if that changes during the mandatory mini camp. So that was what some people had to say based on what they observed at camp. Next, we'll play a video from Cleveland Browns insider by way of Cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot. I thought that her comments was quite interesting. Take a listen closely. This video is about a minute long, but she details what she saw, who she thought had the better day, and who stood out. Just take a listen to what Mary Kay had to say.
Gabriel. It was the first time that we got a chance to see Shedeur Sanders participate in 11 on 11s. He did not do any of those last week while the other 3 quarterbacks did. Now, he didn't get a chance to work with the first team offense today against the first team defense, but it was a step up that he got to work in those 11 on 11s. It means he's progressing, he's coming along well, and Kevin Stefanski had told us that he would get some of these 11 on 11s. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I actually thought he had the better day in terms of the 2 rookies. Dillon struggled a little bit with some incompletions and just with some passes that were broken up and things like that. But I asked offensive coordinator Tommy Rees about that, and he said right now they are process-driven more so than results-driven. Getting back to Shedeur Sanders for a minute, in that 11 on 11 period, he threw a beautiful pass to Caden Davis just in front of the end zone. Caden Davis didn't get his foot in, so it wasn't a touchdown, even though it was called that on the field. But upon further review, especially from our photographer Josh Gunter, the foot was out, but it was still a really nice pass by Shedeur. All in all, a very good day by him.
So that's what Mary Kay Cabot had to say about what she saw out there at Cap. So should we read anything into the fact that Shedeur Sanders did not take any first team 11 on 11 reps in front of the media? And I only bring that up because we had Mary Kay Cabot on this show on Friday. And I think I asked her at said time, did she think Shedeur Sanders were getting those reps behind closed doors? At that time, she said she didn't think so. She happened to be at the Cleveland Browns golf outing where Kevin Stefanski was present, and she so happened to ask him the same question, and he confirmed that, yes, Shedeur Sanders was in fact getting 11 on 11 work behind closed doors. So now the new question becomes, do you think that he has gotten any of that 11 on 11 work with the first teams, or will that happen tomorrow per se, or Friday, should I say per se, behind closed doors when the media won't be present? Should we be reading anything into the fact that he didn't get any first team reps? Should we really kind of just, take Kevin for his word that we shouldn't really pay attention to the pecking order right now as we see it? I thought that it was pretty interesting that we had, four different people who was OTAs today from four different outlets, kind of, speak to that Shedeur Sanders and their eyes kind of separated themselves. Though this is a voluntary OTA, though, things can't really be taken seriously at this moment, but it's still noteworthy. And maybe I shouldn't be saying that things shouldn't be taken seriously, because for young quarterbacks like Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, every single rep that they get, it matters. It counts. It's going to go towards Kevin Stefanski making a decision on, how the depth chart will play out. And then if it comes down to who gets the opportunity to start, who that guy will be up first. And it just seems like lately that Shedeur Sanders has separated himself from the competition when it comes to that rookie battle between him and Dillon Gabriel. I think that everybody who had an opinion on what they saw was non-biased. And if the people out here watching this, podcast think that those reporters are biased, those are the same people who felt they were being unfairly biased to one Shedeur Sanders. And so now you have those same people saying, you know what, Shedeur Sanders, he looked good. This is the second time that Daryl Ryder in particular has pointed out the mechanics, so to speak, and just how Shedeur has looked sharp with each opportunity that he was given. Now, I know I shouldn't be bringing this up because I was one of the people that was frustrated by it, but I will be doing a fan base a disservice if I didn't talk about this. ESPN Cleveland, they tracked the stats yet again. I know you heard all the hosts on our show. They was not too happy about the stats being tracked, but it is what it is. And they did it yet again. So here's how it went down today. Joe Flacco completed 4 of 7 passes. Kenny Pickett completed 9 of 15 passes and had 2 touchdowns. Dillon Gabriel completed 11 of 20 attempts for 3 touchdowns. And Shedeur Sanders completed 9 of 14, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So that's how the guys, stats look. You can take that for what it's worth if you want to read into it. But I think the biggest thing is, I heard Kevin say that he felt like the guys was having fun, and he felt like essentially the rookies was picking up everything that was being put down. And so to me, it sounds like that they're understanding and processing the offense, that they're processing everything that they need to do as quarterbacks to earn a fair shot at either being quarterback 2 or possibly the starting quarterback on opening day. Who knows how things is going to shape up. But I thought those were some very interesting takeaways for some of the reporters that was out there. Let's get to some of y'all comments. We got 157 people watching live. I want to appreciate everybody who's tuned in right now. We got somebody watching from Cleveland Heights. We got somebody watching from Lander Haven. Somebody said fresh lineup. Shout out to my barber, Dumpy Cuts, man. He do keep me fresh. Says the Browns hurting those 3rd and 4th team guys, playing them against Sanders. He's going to make them look worse than they might be. Dale G said, read the fact that Mary Kay is a hater. Robert says, if Tommy says that it's all about processing, why does it matter what team reps he gets? That could be a valid point, I think, at this particular time, because it is about processing and it is about what you do with the reps you do get. Whether it be 11 on 11, 7 on 7, whatever the case may be, because the truth be told, if Shedeur Sanders was out there stinking it up, people would have no issue, talking about it, whether it was a voluntary OTA, 11 on 11s or 7 on 7s. If he wasn't performing at all, they wouldn't be saying, well, keep in mind it's voluntary, or keep in mind it's 7 on 7 or 11 on 11. They'll have a whole lot to say. And so I don't think it's unfair to point out that, yeah, even though it's voluntary and the stats, quote unquote, don't matter, you got to give him his kudos, because he is processing the information and he is doing what the head coach is asking of him to earn those competitions, to earn more reps further up the depth chart in the competition. Ian says, no, who cares about the first team reps? Billy Musgrave is mentoring Shedeur and basically focused on the development of Shedeur in particular. That's why Shedeur is usually away from the other 3 quarterbacks. shout out to Ian, man, who has become a regular on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. I think that is a very, very valid point as well, because Daniel and Zach noted that anytime that Shedeur or Dillon Gabriel is not getting on field reps, that they are pretty much glued to quarterback coach Bill Musgrave. And so that says that they are paying attention to their teacher, and that he is actually, he's really locked in with his guys, and he understands that the development of both of these young men essentially is going to fall on his feet, because he is the quarterback's coach. And so for them to be soaking up everything that he has as far as knowledge and helping those guys prepare for when they get those opportunities on the football field, I think that's pretty dope. Ian also says that, let's see what else he says. He says Tony Gressel almost choked in his humble pie. VJ says he's watching from Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Columbus. Derek Smith says, good show. Thank you. Buckeye Paulie says, Chop asked Tony point blank who did the best, and brings up one throw from Shedeur and starts talking about Dillon start slow but finishing strong. He's biased. Listen, to each his own, right? Like if they want to be biased, cool. And I get it. Like I know yesterday I got triggered by some of Shedeur's personal fan base who kind of feel some type of way about the city or the team or some of the media coverage. And I kind of took that personal, because I ain't said a damn thing out of pocket about Shedeur Sanders. I've actually spoke very highly of his character, and I've spoken to the positivity of what I see as him as a quarterback. Quite honestly, I don't care where he was drafted. I feel like he's a better player than Dillon Gabriel. That's no knock on Dillon Gabriel. Dillon had a fine college career. He left college football with his name in the record books. Can't say nothing negative about that. He battled in the Big Ten, whatever the case may be. But even if you didn't see Shedeur Sanders as the second overall pick or as a first round pick, I don't think it was too many GMs that had Dillon Gabriel rated higher than Shedeur Sanders on their draft board. How the Cleveland Browns ended up with him higher on their board, I don't know. And true story, we will probably never know how that decision was made, how that situation panned out. All I know is, we got Shedeur Sanders, and he's going to get an opportunity to show what he can do and what he's about. I'm excited. I'm pretty sure the fan base is excited about it. And I'll tell you this, if Shedeur shows out and wins, then it's going to be really, really hard to kind of find a fixed narrative if you're somebody that is not a supporter of Shedeur. Ian says he's watching from Boston. Derek is watching from Dallas, Texas. Dave Young says the interception wasn't on Shedeur. The wide receiver had butterfingers. Dave Young facts. Let's see what else we got. Warren G says salute. So yeah, that's how I see it when it comes to what went down. A couple other things to take note of from OTAs. And again, Spencer German will be joining us shortly from the Locked On Browns podcast to talk about some of the things he saw out there at camp. But a couple other things to take note of. Both Cedric Tillman and Michael Woods, wide receivers, did not practice today for the Cleveland Browns. And we all know that depth is an issue when it comes to that room. I think we can all agree that we are one Jerry Jeudy injury away from having to scratch our head about, how good will that wide receiver room be. I can't wait to ask Spencer about the, running back competition. Has Quinshon Judkins, clearly separated himself from the pack? Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford, amongst others. That'd be interesting to find out. So just looking forward to, figuring out what really he saw and, how things are shaping up. I think when we come back for mandatory veterans mini camp, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And I say that because as we go through these OTAs, we are really getting an opportunity, in those brief open moments to see how things are shaping out. And all we can do is really, depend on the content that's written for the other part of it. But I think we'll have an idea of how Kevin Stefanski sees his quarterback room, by the time we get to that mandatory minicamp practice. And I do think at said time, we will see live action of Shedeur Sanders actually taking first team 11 on 11 reps. And even if he gets second team reps, I think those reps will be very, very important in the mandatory phase of things. And here's why: people can dissect whatever they want to dissect in a voluntary OTA. They in shorts and t-shirts. The defense is not really putting in work. You can't get hit. Well, the quarterback ain't gonna get hit throughout training camp anyway. So you can just take that piece off the puzzle. You can take that and just throw that away. But it's gonna be so many things that's dissected. And I think when you get to that mandatory phase, even when, like, with the veterans returning, the second team unit that he's going to be able to throw against is going to be much tougher competition than the competitions that he's throwing against this week. If he gets first team reps, okay, now you're going up against Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and co. And so we'll be able to get another evaluation of Shedeur Sanders on the next level. I think personally, Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees and Billy Musgrave have handled this situation pretty well, in my opinion. I think that when you start this process off with him behind the scenes, him being Shedeur Sanders, getting 11 on 11 reps behind the scenes, and kind of gradually working that way into it, I thought it made a lot of sense. And I think that how he handled it today, I think is going to raise questions for most, but we just got to trust the process. He's already let us know that Shedeur is getting his fair shot of reps behind the scenes in those 11 on 11 settings. And to see how he performed today, the only thing I had to my mercy was the videos that I saw floating around on social media. And I thought he looked crisp in the pocket. I thought, his balls was on time, and I thought they looked good coming out of his hand. I saw a few throws of Dillon Gabriel's that looked good. Per Mary Kay Cabot, she said he thought he struggled with some incompletions that could have been there, and he had some passes that was broken up. So, whatever the case may be, no knock on Dillon. Again, we're early in this process, and the Browns offensive coordinator believe all four of those guys has the opportunity to win this job. So we shall see how that works out.